The majority of this offseason, we've been judging and critiquing your guys' suggestions on what the Steelers should do, whether it's for pick number 17 or the draft in totality. You guys have sent mock drafts into the podcast. You guys have dropped comments. What do you think if we do this, do that? What do you think of this mock draft? I've seen it all. So how about now the tables turn where you guys grade my work. So just last week, I did a live mock draft on Bleach Report, and these are going to be the results. So you guys give me a grade in the comments, and just for full context, this draft was done before the Steelers traded for Allen Robinson. I don't think it messes up the draft too much. I think I would do things very much similarly. I'll explain further as I go through the picks and whatnot and what I was thinking. But yeah, this is today's episode. I did a mock draft. You guys grade it. So for our first pick, this is what the draft board was looking like. Kalijah Kancey, Dalton Kincaid, Deonte Banks, Brian Branch, Joey Porter Jr. So we got some names there. And at 17, I'd be good with a multitude of those guys. Deonte Banks, Joey Porter Jr., and also Brian Branch. So someone in the chat in the moment suggested, hey, why don't you look to trade back? So I explored my options, and the Chargers were willing to give me a third-round pick. But not only that, they also thrown in a fourth. So I only dropped from pick 17 to pick 21, and then was able to get an additional third-rounder and fourth-rounder. My thinking is one of those guys, whether it's Deonte Banks, Brian Branch, or Joey Porter Jr., would be available, and I'd be able to pick up additional capital midway through the draft. So it was like a no-brainer to me. I ended up trading the pick with the Chargers, moved back to 21, and my theory was sound. It ended up working out, but it was close because Brian Branch and JPJ both went off the board, leaving Deonte Banks, which made him the clear-cut pick for me. I think he could be our future CB1. He could play this year, good in man coverage. I think he's in the tier 1 of these cornerback prospects. He's number 4. After Christian Gonzalez, Witherspoon, JPJ, and it's Deonte Banks. So I'm good with taking him at 17. Well, actually not 17, at 21 in the first round. Now to round 2, here's who was on the board. Some notable names: Emmanuel Forbes, Mozzie Smith, DeJuan Jones, Osiris Torrance. You also have Tank Dell, Jack Campbell, Tyreek Stevenson, Steve Avila, also Luke Musgrave. So for me, I wasn't liking where the board was sitting right here. But I had to dig further. I was like, you know what? The one guy that I would really like at pick 32, or at least in the second round, either 32 or 49, is Drew Sanders. And none of these guys are really sticking out to me and giving me a reason as to why I should take them over him. So I went with Drew. He's your franchise linebacker for years to come. Extremely versatile. He's like a lesser version of Micah Parsons. Gave you, I think it was 9.5 sacks last year with Arkansas, but is also good in coverage. So he's very versatile. He's the athletic linebacker that we don't have on the roster. And again, I think he could be the long-term solution. So Drew Sanders was my pick in round 2. And now to our second round pick. And this is what the board was looking like there. You got Tanner McKee, quarterback out of Stanford. We're not taking a quarterback. Dayan Henley, linebacker out of Washington State, can double up on linebackers. Pair him with Drew Sanders. That could be kind of lethal. But we already have some really good linebackers that we picked up in free agency. Tuilu Puloto, edge rusher from USC. Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa. Tank Dell, Tyreek Stevenson again, still there. Luke Whippler, center out of Ohio State. Luke Musgrave is still there. Jahmyr Gibbs, halfback out of Alabama. And then I see Julius Brents is still on the board. And I was like, man, let's double up at cornerback. I think Julius Brents is a dope all-around player. Tested really good at the combine. I think he has high upside. We already got our CB1, Deonte Banks. We picked up Drew Sanders, inside linebacker. And out of this board, I think it makes most sense to double up on cornerback. Nothing else is really sticking out to me. Like Tank Dell, maybe we could get him in the later rounds, 3rd or 4th. You got a couple tight ends. Dayan Henley's intriguing, like I said, to pair him with Drew Sanders, but I don't want to go overkill on linebackers. So with cornerback, we only have Levi Wallace remaining on a 1-year deal. Patrick Peterson, we know he's not a long-term solution. So why not get two guys in here that can be our future in the cornerback room? So I end up taking Julius Brent. Now we go to round 3. And my thinking here is we need to get another receiver in the room, and also we need that third edge rusher. And the top 2 on the board at the time were Tank Dell, who's a guy that I like, and also Nick Herbig. We know the connection to Nate Herbig. This would add to Tomlin's Infinity Stone collection. So these guys were the 2 targets, in my opinion. Now, we have 2 third-round picks now, because remember, we did the Chargers trade. We have 80 and 85. So I was at a dilemma here. I was going back and forth. Who do I take and hope that the other is there at 85? So I prioritized Nick Herbig to get that Infinity Gauntlet Stone. And then we advanced a few more picks, and luckily Tank Dell was still there too. So our third round included Nick Herbig at 80 and then Tank Dell at 85. Again, this was done before the Allen Robinson trade. I don't know if I stick with Tank Dell or if I try to maybe get some O-line or D-line depth here. But again, this didn't really kill the draft, or wasn't anything earth-shattering because we traded for Allen Robinson. They could still very well draft another receiver in the 3rd or 4th round to compete with Calvin Austin and Anthony Miller anyway. And then with the rest of the draft, I'll go through this briefly. In round 4, went with Marty Mapu, safety out of Sacramento State. I think that's a high upside play right there. Maybe could have got him in the 7th round, but didn't want to risk him not being there. I just think he's a really high upside dude. People compare him to Fred Warner. If you watch some of his highlights, you see why people are intrigued by him. And then with my 2nd, 4th round pick, the one I got from the Chargers in the trade, I go with defensive tackle Keandre Coburn. I think he's just another dude you bring in and have him compete with Braden Fioku and Montravius Adams. He's a big dude, and I think he could play true nose tackle. It's just a flyer. Have him compete. Bring in some interior defensive line depth. Not too much else to that. And then in round 7, we go with Brett Nealon, center out of USC. He's just going to be our backup center. And then our 2nd, 7th round pick, Brandon Hill, safety out of Pitt. Held a Pitt. Tested really good at the combine. Was a damn good player at Pitt. Don't really expect him to be there in round 7. I think he will go in maybe the 4th or 5th round. But for the Steelers at this point, I feel like it's a steal. Another guy you just bring in, added depth to the secondary, added depth to the safety position. We got guys on shorter term deals like a DeMonte Casey and a Keanu Neal. Who knows what Brandon Hill could develop to, and maybe in year 3 or so, he could actually get significant steps for the team. But that is my mock draft. I'm not even going to front. I think I killed this. I think this was awesome. Right now, you can maybe swap out a Tank Dell for someone on the O-line or the D-line, but I still think this draft is great as is because I think we did really well with the trade. I don't know if the Chargers give up that much in real life. Maybe it's just the 3rd rounder. But still, I think the theory was sound to trade back when you had a Deonte Banks, a Brian Brantz, and JPJ all there. We were able to get one of them at pick 21, and then we got the additional 3rd and 4th, which we got a Nick Herbig and then also a Keandre Coburn with. I think that's extreme value. We also got Drew Sanders, Julius Brents, Nick Herbig, our 3rd edge rusher. I think it's a good draft. You guys got to let me know, though, down in the comments what grade you're giving it. How did I do as the Steelers GM on Bleacher Report? But that's it for this edition of Big Deke News. On a Friday, man, enjoy the weekend. Weather should be good. I think it's going to be a little rainy tomorrow, but I'm going to be golfing at some point for sure. So you guys enjoy it with friends, family. Stay safe, and peace.